What is good, guys? Today we're going to be talking about Patrick Mahomes and basically, you know, how his career's been so far and what his career has the potential to do. Really quick, sorry if you hear screaming in the background. I don't know if that's coming from outside or upstairs or in another room. Um, yeah, I got some crazy neighbors, so I've listened to. They've screamed in the past, and I've listened to a couple of videos. You can't really hear them, but if you can and it upsets you, I'm sorry. I'm not an RA, not the police. Can't do anything about that. Anyways, yeah, let's dive into this video on Patrick Mahomes. So Patrick Mahomes, he sort of came out of nowhere when he started his career. Losing record at Texas Tech. It's a Power 5 school, but Texas Tech, they've never really been known to accomplish anything as far as college football goes. And yeah, this Mahomes kid coming out of college, raw talent. Not very tall, 6'2", great arm, great athlete, but again, on the smaller side. And some knocks on him were, he was sort of sloppy with his mechanics. He could make some amazing throws, but he could also make some really ugly throws, and nobody knew if it was going to work in the NFL. Because, I know, sort of a different comp, but like Jameis Winston throws 30 touchdowns, but then he also throws 30 interceptions. 30 touchdowns is great, but, doesn't matter if you're throwing 30 interceptions, that doesn't work as a starter quarterback. That's not going to win you games. So what if Mahomes is making all these great throws? He's got to balance it out with making all these other ugly throws and turnovers and yada, yada, yada. And so, yeah, he's not really viewed as a generational talent. And he falls. And the draft, gets taken finally by the Chiefs. Chiefs trade up to get him. But then outside of the final regular season game, when the Chiefs had already had their playoff seed locked up, he sat the entire year behind former number 1 overall pick Alex Smith, the veteran. And, nobody knew what to expect of him. And then Alex Smith gets traded the following offseason, and the Chiefs say Patrick Mahomes is their guy going into the season. And, there wasn't a lot to be made of Mahomes. People who watched the Chiefs practice said he looked amazing, but again, it's practice. He can be great in practice. That doesn't mean, I'm sure the best quarterback of all time in practice wasn't Tom Brady or wasn't Joe Montana or an all-time great. So, yeah. And then his second year, he takes off. His first year as a starter, they're incredible. Their offense is so high-powered, high-flying. And I got to be honest, they could have won the Super Bowl probably. The only team they eventually ended up losing that year to the Patriots dynasty. The greatest dynasty, or by far the greatest dynasty in football, and arguably the greatest dynasty of all time. 20-year dynasty with the greatest head coach and the greatest quarterback of all time. Probably never going to see anything like it again. And they almost beat him. But, never bet against Brady and Belichick. And, yeah, Chiefs lost in the end. But then following year, they rebound just fine. They win the Super Bowl. And then following year, they get back to the Super Bowl. But Mahomes, he doesn't have his entire offensive line due to injury. And then you have the Andy Reid. Andy Reid's, I think son it was, on the staff. Horrible, tragic drunk driving car accident with the kid. And so they lose that Super Bowl, get blown out by Brady again. Although this time he didn't have Belichick and he was on a different team. And the following year, again, sort of like what I was talking about when he was being evaluated in the draft process. That year, his mechanics sort of went off. Still gets to the AFC Championship, but loses to Cincinnati and Joe Burrow. And then this year, wins the Super Bowl again. So I just think Mahomes, he's had a phenomenal career so far. There's no doubting that. He's on pace to easily have the all-time passing yards record. He already has so many passing touchdowns. Um, he always tends to be very accurate too. But it's just fascinating with Mahomes. I mean, you look at some of the things that he's accomplished, some things that people don't want to talk about, or people don't talk about when talking about how great he is. 5 straight years of starting, 5 straight AFC Championship appearances. Patrick Mahomes has never not played in an AFC Championship game. They've also all been at home. Patrick Mahomes has only lost to 2 quarterbacks in the playoffs. He's only got 3 playoff losses. Think about that. He's made the playoffs every single year of his 5 seasons. He's only lost 3 playoff games. 2 AFC Championship games and a Super Bowl. One of the AFC Championship games and the Super Bowl was to Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time. And the other AFC Championship loss was to Joe Burrow, who I think is going to go down as first ballot Hall of Famer. I think he's going to have an incredible career. He's still young. People forget that. Joe Burrow, only his second full year starting, hasn't even gotten his first big contract extension yet. But yeah. And then you got to ask, well, what's Patrick Mahomes' ceiling? Can he catch Brady? Can he be the GOAT? I'm going to go with no. Simply because I think in order for him to be considered the GOAT, he would have to win at least 6 Super Bowls. Maybe even have to go to another team and win a Super Bowl because of what Brady was able to accomplish. 6 Super Bowls with the Patriots and a 7th one with Tampa. So maybe, Mahomes would have to win 5 with the Chiefs and then go win another one somewhere else to even be considered the GOAT. I mean, it's funny because I sort of compared, I predicted right now, there's the whole MJ LeBron debate. And I think like 15 years from now, the Brady Mahomes debate is going to be like the current MJ LeBron debate. LeBron gets 3 rings. Ooh, is LeBron the GOAT? And I feel that's going to be the thing with Mahomes. I feel like we forget how great Michael Jordan was. We're going to forget how great Tom Brady was. I mean, I think, Mahomes wins 4. We're going to be like, oh, is Mahomes the GOAT now? Like, nah. If I had to take a guess, I don't know how many rings Mahomes gets. I think 5 would probably be the most. I mean, because people forget, all great quarterbacks have had all-time great quarterbacks, let's just say, have had all-time great head coaches. And every all-time great head coach has had an all-time great quarterback. I mean, just think of it. Greatest quarterback of all time, Tom Brady, has the greatest head coach of all time, Bill Belichick. Jimmy Johnson and Troy Aikman had each other. Mike Shanahan and John Elway had each other. Peyton Manning and Tony Dungy had each other. Joe Montana and Bill Walsh had each other. So Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid have each other. I will say, but now let me be sort of devil's advocate. Let me sort of be Mr. Negative. Despite the fact that Patrick Mahomes has had an all-time great career so far, he's had a much easier path than all the other young quarterbacks, such as Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, those guys. I mean, Mahomes gets drafted later on in the draft. No pressure. He gets to sit behind a proven, really good veteran quarterback for an entire year. Great front office executives. Small market Kansas City. Media's not going to be, on your back constantly. You have the greatest offensive head coach of all time. Arguably the greatest tight end of all time. Arguably the fastest player in league history, Tyreek Hill, at wide receiver 1. You have Kareem Hunt, a really great young running back. Um, Solid offensive line, reliable kicker. You don't feel the pressure to always have to score touchdowns. Um, and yeah, I feel he wouldn't be having like as great of a career as he has been if he was like on a team like my Bears. Like everyone always knocks the Bears. Oh, they traded up and drafted Trubisky over Mahomes and Watson. But like, I think if the Bears drafted Mahomes, I'm not even sure he has a ring. I mean, he probably. My gut feeling says he has at least one ring, but I don't think he has two, and I don't think he has the records that he does, or necessarily the MVPs. I mean, think Andy Reid cleaned up his poor mechanics. Um, I mean, he did. I mean, Mahomes' mechanics were terrible at Texas Tech. Andy Reid cleaned them up. So all those turnovers and poor throws go away, and all you see are all these great throws. Um, I think in Chicago, his mechanics never really get cleaned up. So I think in Chicago, he could sort of be like a more athletic Jameis Winston, going back to that 30 touchdown, 30 interception comp. Um, but yeah, and that's not knocking Mahomes. All great quarterbacks, like I said, need great coaching. I mean, Josh Allen, lucky he landed in Buffalo, because if Josh Allen lands in, like, say, I don't know, let's say the Jets. The Jets drafted Josh Allen. Um, Josh Allen's mechanics. Josh Allen, another kid, his mechanics were sloppy coming out of college. Um, Great arm, great athlete, big, thick, but his mechanics were bad. I don't think his mechanics sort of get solved on the Jets or a team like that. He had to go to the Bills and get Brian Dable. And now that Brian Dable's gone, his mechanics are starting to go off again. So, I mean, they're not terrible. He still has Ken Dorsey. But still. I'm not knocking Mahomes again. I'm not. But great career so far. But I'll just say this: lucky he landed where he did, because if he went somewhere else, he wouldn't be nearly viewed as the all-time great quarterback. Yeah, he wouldn't. He would not be viewed the way he is right now if he was on a team like my Bears. I mean, I hate to be negative, but I don't think Tom Brady's the quarterback he is if he's not on the Patriots. I don't. I don't think Mahomes is on the Chiefs. I don't. I'm sorry. I just don't. Just my opinion. So yeah, sorry to end on a negative note, but be posting more content throughout the week. Gonna wrap it up on this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one.